President Donald Trump recently spoke to a crowd of evangelicals at the Value Voters Summit, and they were actually pretty receptive to what he had to say. Now, this is not necessarily the way it's gone for Trump before at the Values Voters Summit, because in 2015, which is, I believe, his first speech there, he was actually booed by some of the attendees, but for whatever reason this time, he seemed to have been able to capture their hearts. And the way he was able to do this is by finally mastering a political technique that has existed since the dawn of time. He pandered.
We are stopping cold the attacks on Judeo-Christian values. Thank you. Thank you very much. And something I said so much during the last 2 years, but I'll say it again as we approach the end of the year. You know, we're getting near that beautiful Christmas season that people don't talk about anymore. They don't use the word Christmas because it's not politically correct. You go to department stores and they'll say Happy New Year and they'll say other things and it'll be red. They'll have it painted, but they don't say, well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Well, thank God somebody's finally standing up for Christmas. Did you hear the the loudness with which the crowd cheered when he said that? That was amazing to me. But look, Don, you're missing one of the most insidious attacks on Christmas. Starbucks cups.
Do you realize that Starbucks wanted to take Christ and Christmas off of their brand new cups? That's why they're just plain red.
Imagine being so deluded that you would think that whether or not people say Merry Christmas is a real issue. It's not a real issue. Because you're triggered if people say Happy Holidays, which is technically more correct since we're celebrating multiple holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and whatever you celebrate, Hanukkah. I mean, it's just more correct. It's not necessarily only politically correct. It's just more correct. But I mean, to get triggered over somebody saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, what are you doing with your life? Clearly, you're neglecting some real issues that are actually affecting people. This affects no one with the exception of you and your feelings. But first of all, I mean, needless to say, this obviously isn't enforceable. The president cannot compel people to say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. And furthermore, this just really shows you how out of touch Donald Trump really is, because he said here, we're getting near the beautiful Christmas season that people don't want to talk about anymore. Is that so? Is that really so? Because I don't know what universe you're living in, Donald Trump, because my department store that's near me, they're already putting out Christmas decorations. In fact, they started putting it out in early September. So to say that nobody talks about Christmas or that we're ignoring Christmas, that's just factually incorrect. And if you don't believe me, go to a department store and see if they have Christmas decorations out. I guarantee you that if they don't have them out already, they're at least clearing spots for them now. But Donald Trump also states here, we are stopping the attacks on Judeo-Christian values, and, well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again. Well, first of all, this assumes that Judeo-Christian values are under attack in this country, which they're not. But even if they were, isn't this inadvertently insulting to evangelicals? Because Trump is reducing the totality of their religion down to a fight about how we greet each other during the holiday season. That's really what he thinks you care about. I mean, if you're a Christian, don't you care about more important things? If so, wouldn't you be insulted by Trump's obvious ignorance about your religion? I mean, you would think that that's the case, but apparently it's not the case, because when he said, you know, well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again, the crowd cheered.
We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Up is down, left is right. I don't know what's going on with the world, but apparently that's something they care about. Now, as someone who's worked in retail for years and years and years, I was never told by any of my employers to say Happy Holidays specifically and not say Merry Christmas. I usually just did it on my own accord because, again, it's more correct. We call it the holiday season because we're celebrating multiple holidays. But I noticed that for my coworkers, when they would say Merry Christmas, for the ones that did choose to say that, they would never receive any backlash. But for me, I received backlash from saying happy holidays. People were more offended that I said happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. So the problem here is the opposite of what Donald Trump is making it out to be. I remember one guy said, oh, you don't have to say happy holidays to me. You could say Merry Christmas because it's Christmas. And, you know, he wasn't alone. There were multiple people that said that to me. So people get more offended by saying happy holidays. So really, it's not that lefties are the triggered snowflakes because you said Merry Christmas. That doesn't trigger us. We don't care. But it's the evangelicals, the right-wing SJWs, or the social injustice warriors, the Trump flakes, that get triggered if you don't say Merry Christmas. I mean, talk about language police. They like to bemoan students on college campuses who like to shut down particular speakers, but look at who became the language police all of a sudden. The right. See, they're the ones who are trying to control free speech, yet simultaneously, anytime you could find an instance of a social justice warrior on the left trying to control free speech, then they'll speak out against them, but they never speak out against their own ranks. And this is what really frustrates me about people who like to rant against SJWs. Look, here's the thing. There's a lot of SJWs in this country, and the overwhelming majority of them are right-wingers. That's just a fact, because nobody cares about the verbiage that you use. We say happy holidays. What? Because, yeah, it's obviously more inclusive because we don't know what somebody celebrates or if they celebrate at all. But it's technically just more correct because we're celebrating multiple fucking holidays. I don't get why this is so difficult for people to understand. So I'm going to say happy holidays now specifically. I'm going to go out of my way to say happy holidays just to offend Trump flakes.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.